was that? Okay, here we are, Jim Miller's Garden, October 6th, 2024. This morning I'm going to pick these climbing beans on the fence, and it's from one plant that came up voluntarily from beans from last year, and here we go. Let's see if we can do it one-handed. Nice beans. This might be about the last picking this year. I don't see many blossoms. Oh boy. I already got a good little bag full of beans from a few weeks, maybe it was a week ago. And I'll add these to them, and then maybe Nana will make some beans when we get a chance to do it. Okay. Don't see too many more. There's one little one. Here's one. Oop. Come on, let's go. Nobody's watching. It's beans. Here's another one. Oh boy. Come on. There's someone watching. I'll probably scare them off rather quick. And I did. Who wants to watch beans being picked? Okay, gotta look down low. Yeah, there's some, look at, clear on the ground almost. A couple people watching. Good morning. Picking beans. I don't see any more there. Come on. Getting a few. 8 people watching. Oh boy, I better be professional now. Okay, that spot's done. Gotta go clear around. These beans here I'm saving for seed because this is a very interesting plant that grows. It climbs a fence and it just completely takes over the fence. So I'm going to save some seed and grow it some other time. So I'm saving about 4, 5, 6 pods there. I put caution tape on it so I don't forget to leave them. Hey, you got 2 thumbs up. That's great. Now if I get some chats. Okay. Look at them white flies. Those are just... Okay. There's a couple. So some people are staying. Okay, that tomato fell down. Come on, stay up here. Okay, are we all done here? Look at these guys. They're hanging down. There they go. I thought there was... Oh, there you are. Okay, I'll kind of look from this side. Oop, there's one just hanging around. Oh, there's one plain sight. A couple little ones. I don't see many small beans. If you're watching, put in a chat. Just say, hey. What did I'm seeing things. There you are. There's another one. Sort of. Oh, there's a couple here. Yeah, you got to go through about 2-3 times to see them all. Plus the sun's in my eyes. That's a real big help. Well, I'm going to go on the other side of the fence where there's beans over there. So I'm going to go to the other side. Get over everything here. That's my bean total. That's enough for about one person. 3 thumbs up today. That's pretty cool. Okay, here we're on the other side. Lots of beans over here. I forgot to take a screen, or I forgot to take a photo. I like to take a photo before I start something. I'm gonna find some beans that are pretty. Take a screenshot. Okay, that's good. Well, 5 people watching. Picking some beans. About the last beans of this year. It, here's a couple. Okay. It's that little spot down. Here's one. 6 watching. That's cool. So people in bed watching me pick beans. That's probably what's going on. About ready to go over. Got to step through here. Where's that vine? That is it? This is it. Here's the vine where it started. That right here's the vine. And I got it to train up the fence, and I thought it wasn't going to flower. It was a very large plant that was crawling all over, and I didn't see any flower buds. And then it finally started putting out buds, and then we got beans. So I thought it was kind of a mutation, a beanless bean plant, and then it started putting on flowers, and then that took a while for the flowers to start making pods. There was flowers and then no pods for a while, and then finally we got pods, and already had a good a large picking of beans, and we ate them. And I got in a big group again. Well, this one's it's ripe. I might use the seed to eat. Okay, you're way down there. Oh, there's one over here. Right through the fence. It's done. Ooh, there's one down here. You gotta look several times. Where is that? Okay. I don't want to step on the vine. All right. I'll pick this one. What is there? That's 6. I'll leave them 6 for seed. Come on, there. Here's a few more. Well, we might be done. I bet I find one somewhere. 5 watching. That's cool. I don't feel alone. Here's a tomato, volunteer tomato it's got tomatoes that are growing pretty good. That plant put out quite a few. Let's just wait a minute. Well, that was kind of a fail. Let's see. All right. And there's my little, I cut a tree out last year, around a year ago, and it's letting light in this hole there. That was plugged up with leaves last year, and it gives the plants, see, there's another one. It gives the garden a little bit more light. Probably a good half an hour to an hour light in the morning. And it changes in the midsummer. The light is concentrated down in here, and in the fall and the spring, the light's more up here. So it's pretty cool, that sun angle, especially when you have a garden that doesn't get enough light. And I think I'm getting a pretty good amount of light finally. And this volunteer plant's got big tomatoes. I got several more on it. Already picked some. Okay, that's it for picking beans. Now I'm going to describe something interesting, or I've seen a lot of footage of the flooding in North Carolina and Tennessee, and we lucked out, but I would rather have it here than there. But looking at the videos, it might have gotten into the house. I swear. This is Sweetwater Creek in Tennessee, and imagine 30-40 inches of rain upstream. The drainage is, probably, I'd say 10 miles. It goes up to it's in between Nyota and in Athens, Tennessee is where the drainage from the upper end, but it's got a pretty wide drainage up towards Interstate 75 and to the south here along this ridge. You can't see the ridge because of all the trees, but the forecast had it coming right through here where the heaviest rain would have hit. But you don't know about topography, where mountainous areas would, and we don't really have, we're in a valley, we're kind of in the Tennessee Valley, and if it was further west, about 300 miles, would it rain that much? And I'm starting to think that it might have been maybe half that much. Who knows? Well, there's a squirrel running. Okay, squirrel. Okay, and 20 inches through this drainage in a half a day or a day period. We've never had that, but someday we may. And I'm going to kind of walk up to where the record, what I've seen over since 2006. The water hasn't even gotten past this tree other times, where we would have, the ground would be saturated, and then we would get more and more rain, and it would finally get pretty close to the bottom of this tree. But what if you add 10 more inches of rain, would it gone up to the house? Then you have a lot of buildings and fences and all kinds of debris. It's just incredible what that water did to the creek beds. And a lot of these creeks, I've been seeing the footage on. They're just little lazy creeks. Now this creek is down a lot than normal. We had over 4.5 inches of rain during that storm. It may have raised this creek maybe a foot at most, because it all went in the ground. It just went in the ground. And other people weren't so lucky up there in the North Carolina, the Asheville. What is that one? I forget the ones in Tennessee. Unicoi County, Tennessee. They just got blasted. It was awful, and there's just a long ways to go to recover. In some places there'd be a road along a creek, and that road is completely gone, and the bottom of the creek is scoured out to the bedrock. I've seen floods in South Dakota. The 72 flood was like the worst one they've ever seen. It killed 200 people, mostly in Rapid City, South Dakota. I was working up with my uncle's house in Sturgis, South Dakota, and there was a lot of definitely a lot of flooding and damage there, but it did tear up. I remember there was a tennis court close to the creek, Bear Butte Creek, and it took half of that tennis court out, but it was not as bad as what happened in this flood. This one it moved boulders size of cars around and rearranged things and scoured. There's very likely there's bedrock under this creek, and if that happened at that extent, it probably would have done the same. There would have been a lot of debris damming up. See, this building could have dammed things up and flooded our house even more. So I've been watching the people making videos, and I've been thinking for a long time it would take a hell of a flood to get to the house, and I'm thinking if we just got that same amount of rain, if it's even possible, because that rain up there was directed up into the mountains, and it came all at once. And there was this one guy was showing his house, and looked like he had 80-mile-per-hour winds in the mountains of North Carolina. I think it was close to Bat Cave, because he was checking out Bat Cave in Bat Cave, North Carolina, where they had bad flooding, and he was riding around I think he had a ATV and some other things. He put out some great videos, and but that was really terrible looking, that flooding. So I'm thinking that under the same situation, that would have really caused us a lot of trouble. There's so much stuff here, and there's so much stuff upstream that could just get caught in the water. Trees that never been, dead trees that been falling in the creek upstream, and they would just come loose, and they would just collect and divert the water. It could have diverted the water up this way. It could have diverted the water more downtown Sweetwater. There is a very windy part of the creek up there, up about a block away. That would have been interesting, what would have happened there. Sweetwater's over the years have added a lot of catch dams. So when we do have a lot of rain, they kind of just hold the water in an area, and then it slowly drains out. So when we get a lot of rain, it takes about 2 days for it to drain out of the catch dams. But that much water that they had during this hurricane, tropical storm, it wouldn't have mattered about the catch dams. They would have been completely inundated and maybe 10 feet above those dams, and maybe maybe tearing the dams out. So it's something to think about. Nashville had a bad flood, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and it did a lot of damage. So, you know, we could be next, and I don't want it to be next, but it's a possibility. So enough of that. I'm gonna kind of look the garden over. This garden, with that much water, I probably would have lost the garden, maybe lost the soil even. Who knows what this fence would have torn out? Who knows if we get what they had? So, hey, I bet I gotta move you back up. Got to keep them tomatoes off the ground or they'll rot. And I had one up here all the time, a bigger one, and it started rotting even though it was sitting on the log. And I used that in my chili yesterday. I came out and picked tomatoes yesterday, and there was several that had rotten spots I had to use immediately. And they went in the chili. Here's a couple squash. This is a volunteer squash plant. And here's another one off the same plant. What is it? We got 3 weeks to Halloween. I don't think those are gonna make the color code unless I use a green one on those. But I got plenty of other. I wanna look at you. You look fine. Now here's the pumpkin that it's a miracle that it even grew up a pumpkin on it, because this plant tried to die several times and it made it. It's probably not going to be yellow at Halloween. I like carving out pumpkins. I'm starting to get good at it. Yeah, here's the sweet potato patch. It's massive. Four slips, if you know what a slip is. It's 4 little clippings. Like they take a clipping like this and they place it in soil and it starts to root. And that's all we just had, 4 little slips. And look at this massive, oh gosh, what's this, 30 by 20 feet area of, and these are purple sweet potatoes, and if anything, they got these pretty purple blossoms. So and they say the leaves start, they said, I googled, when are they ripe, and they say when the leaves start turning yellow. Well, I don't see any yellowing of the leaves yet. Well, it could freeze too. If it freezes, you need to pull them. You need to take, and here's that volunteer marigold that's just big and taking up the area. It's really pretty. Lots of flowers. Okay. I don't know if I go up in there. Here's these yellow tomatoes. They're about, there's a few big ones on it yet. And they're really falling down. They're just about, as long as you keep the tomatoes off the ground, it'll be okay. We're about done for the year. And here's this volunteer row. It's got a few left, and these other volunteer rows. Ooh, there's a ripe one I missed. Where are you? I missed you. You didn't get to go in the chili pot. So there's quite a few left on that. This was very productive. This little kind of an afterthought. I had so many volunteer tomatoes, I just dug them up out of the corn and other places, and I put them here, and this row did spectacularly. It got a lot of tomatoes off of it. And here are these giant, this one's a real got the sun on it too. This is a giant Marconi pepper, and I'm gonna have to start freezing those pretty soon because we're getting too many, which is a good thing. And this plant's productive. I got to keep them off the ground. They get rotten easily too. What do you? I hope you're not. No, you're just odd colored. I'm just looking for rotten ones. Okay, here's the pumpkin patch that the seed came over on in the chicken manure because I fed the chickens pumpkins last winter, and I brought some manure over, and the seed came back. It came on back with the manure, and they grew a bunch of pumpkins. That's a real nice look. Hey, I think you'll probably be ready for Halloween. And this one here is hanging on it's a real pretty one, but it's still green. So yeah, the leaves are pretty much died out. And these tomatoes here are these are the beefsteaks. There's some good ones left. There's one here and there. There's tomato here, tomato there. And I had a pumpkin here, but it broke off. It was probably not getting enough sunlight, nutrition, and it broke off. And the plant, see, this doesn't get hardly any sun anymore because of the sun angle. And it's really late in the year too. And here's probably one of my last pumpkins growing. It's probably chicken food later in the winter. Okay, here's the big cage tomato. I think the plant pretty much died, and these tomatoes are going to ripen over the next few weeks. Hey, you're starting to turn. This pumpkin's turning, and there's a bigger one over there from the same plant. And here's okay, what do you look like? I'm just checking for maybe a rotten tomato. Ooh, that one turned orange in one day. I picked tomatoes yesterday morning, and that one was just borderline. And now it's ready to get picked. I'll pick here in a couple days. More tomatoes out of this squash hill. Volunteer squash, I moved them down here. There was like this compost pile that had a bunch of squash, tomatoes, and I moved them elsewhere, and I did pretty good this year. This is the cabbage I planted, and this is the small ones here are where I planted once, it died, and I planted second time, and there was no germination, and this is the third planting. And here's like the first planting, and these are flat Dutch cabbage. No, those are just, I don't think those will hurt. There's a couple bugs. I just sprayed them, and I don't see any holes, so that one this is a very poorly lit area for this time of year. So it's gonna be interesting if it'll put on a head before hard cold weather, hard freezes in January. So that's gonna be interesting. Volunteer tomato, I sort of gave up on. It had tomatoes, and then the foliage died back, and it looks good. It's got, I think, 6 tomatoes. Very nice. And it's probably what helped was this hole in the trees. It gives it just enough light to make it work pretty well. Okay, that lower garden's done. Oh, I got to get my beans brought up. So I don't see any chats, people. I'm not being. Oh, look at these guys. Okay. These two tomatoes came up in between the sidewalk and the house, and they're still alive. Um, and I don't know, these white flies might do them in, but ooh, there's a little bitty one. Now, these might last until way into the fall, into the winter, because they're right next to the house, and they might. It might get down to 20, let's say 26, 27, and they might not freeze because there's heat coming out from the house and the brick. See, the brick gets sunlight and then it radiates heat all night. So it's going to be interesting with these tomatoes. It's only going to be a month or so, and the hard freeze is coming. It's going to be curious how far they'll make it through the early winter. They still got tomatoes. They were pretty much gonna die because they ran out of moisture. And it was funny, it was still hot, but the roots located moisture somewhere because they started reviving. It might have been because there was less sunlight hours, the trend towards that. And then they're going strong. They look healthy. Gets a few little tomatoes for a while. Here's some cabbage that's 3 years old, and I don't know what's going to happen. I got plenty of cabbage seed. I don't know if I even want more seed for next winter. If it survives the winter, if it survives the winter. It might be too cold to survive, but it survived 2 winters? I think it's 2 winters it survived. More volunteer tomatoes. See, these ripened in one day. These got riper. So, and I don't see, well, there's a few little ones here. I need to keep you guys above. Hang them up. Keep them off the ground. All these are volunteers. And these stay really a dark reddish green when they get ripe. I don't know what they are. They probably came in on bird manure. So that was kind of a bonus. One of the last volunteer plants to start growing, and it's kind of in mid-production because I already picked about a half dozen. I like that one. And here's this remaining acorn squash. That's enough to make something. And here's this big tomato. Big volunteer tomato. And most of the volunteers have these little bitty tomatoes. But some of them this year, especially this year, have large, good tomatoes. Okay. Here's one of the later pumpkins on this upper garden, which had the same situation where I put chicken manure and it grew chicken manure with, I'm going to go back over there. Chicken manure with pumpkin seed in it. Okay, I'm going. I had a cantaloupe here on this rock, and the vine died, and then the cantaloupe, I was just going to let it ripen, and within the last couple of days, it disappeared, like gone. I know I didn't pick it. My memory's bad, but I didn't pick it. And I don't know. Usually when a deer messes with a cantaloupe, they'll leave them half-eaten and make a mess. It's gone. I don't think it rolled down the hill. So that's a mystery. I don't want it to happen much. The deer might have took it and has packed a lunch and took the cantaloupe. And here's another cantaloupe, the last cantaloupe. It may be ending up, and its vine has died. I'm just letting it out, leaving it out here to ripen. Who knows? It may disappear. If it was an animal, they'll look for more stuff. And here's this original. Are you putting more? Yes. This is one of the very earliest of the volunteers. It's had a very productive year. All these old vines had tomatoes. There's one bigger tomato. And it was in the carrot row. There was a gap in the carrots. And I let a couple volunteers grow. And they had some real interesting tomatoes. They were kind of a pinkish look. And when they got towards ripe, they got soft real quick. Not rotten soft, but just soft. And I had to use them before they got softer. So they were very interesting tomato. It's hard to tell where it came from. Okay, we're on the back side. We did the beans. Oh, there's another one. It's probably because of that sun in my face. I couldn't see that well. And I missed a couple. I'll go up to the bucket. Okay, I don't see any more. Where's that bucket? Okay, I'll go up here. I'm done with this. I probably scared everybody off. Here's another volunteer, Marigold. Hey, Blackie. Get them squirrels. Okay. Volunteer, Marigold, just right on the edge of the sidewalk. I let it go. Felt sorry for it. It's got pretty blossoms on it now. It's gonna bloom a lot more. Got a lot of buds coming. And here's these tomatoes here are the ones we got from the farmer's market. And this one here is it's a Mr. Stripey. I don't know why they call it that. And I picked yesterday, and there's a lot more got ripe over one day. So it seems like the tomatoes are finishing fast this fall. And they might be more or less gone before frost. There'll be a few, but the major part of them will be gone and ripened before frost. But it usually freezes here around, well, no one's watching. That's bad. What am I supposed to do? Go to the bunnies? Okay, here's the shoot. I'll go. The avocados. And these came up from Nana eats avocados nearly every day, and then they came up in the compost. And here's a couple of them I planted, and I'll have to take them inside for the winter. They're just to look at. They're an interesting looking plant. I got a bigger one up there in the front yard that's several years old. And here is Troll. I think he drinks a lot. What's it say? What's he say? Yeah, is it 5 o'clock somewhere? Oh, he's a drunk troll. But he's been protecting this garden the last couple years. And here's these potted tomatoes. I got some chicken manure and chicken, just what I call chicken scratch. It's soil and manure decomposed. And I put in these pots. They did pretty well. I think I had too much nitrogen and the leaves curled. Um, see, this one says I'm gonna make a tomato again, so that's okay. And here's this little, I got a little watermelon that came out in the pots. And here's this little bitty, it's not gonna, it's not gonna make anything, but it's kind of cool that a watermelon tried growing in late summer. And here's some more of those flat Dutch cabbages. What's that? That's a dead worm. Well, the stuff's working. Captain Jack's BT Thuricide. If you want cabbage, if you want cabbage in the South, that's the solution. And we got some, I shredded some cabbage, and me and Nana put it in a crock. We got sauerkraut working. So we're gonna have sauerkraut in a few weeks from the earlier cabbage. There's 7 watching for a minute. Watch them drop off. Okay. I might do this up here. A little pumpkin. This is the Bush Goliath tomato. Very productive year. Its last tomato. See, that one ripened overnight. And here's one that's later. It might make it before frost. I hate frost. That's a hard work day because I got to bring in everything that's going to freeze. Bring in plants around the 1st of November down here. I got to take these pineapples in, and that one is just beautiful. It may put a pineapple. That one looks like the ones you see on YouTube, people growing their own pineapples. And that's a very big plant. And that was the top of this plant. This plant here grew a stem, had a pineapple, and had a pineapple top, of course. And I planted the top, and here's the top a couple years later. This one here is what they call a pup. It came out from the lower part of the plant at the ground level, and it's doing pretty good. This is another one that's I've had for several years. It's kind of sick looking. It's trying to die on me. Okay. A tomato in the toilet. And there's 2 left. That's probably it for. There's some healthy looking foliage. Healthy looking. I doubt it may bloom and put a little tomato in the coming weeks. Who knows? I'll have to water it. I'll have to keep watering this because there's hope. When there's hope, you have to keep doing what is necessary. And here's this bucket tomato. It's got a couple. Those are actually 2 down there and then 2 up here. That's a few. Those have been good this year. They're kind of a conversation item. They have a toilet tomato and a bucket tomato. Okay, here's this other. This is my best volunteer steel post cage tomato. Use old plug cords to keep it in. Use junk. to keep the, and look at this one. That one's really nice and big. Hope the worms stay off of it. So it's about dead too. Well, this side looks a little bit better, but it gets the most sunlight of the garden, and it was such a beautiful plant when it was at its peak. Okay. Here's the sweet potatoes crawling through the fence. I'm just letting them go. It's so late in the year. I just say, hey, you can. I used to just stink. I would take the vines and I would say, well, you're going back home because you're going to shade something out, but there's nothing to shade anymore. So I stick them through the fence, but I'm just letting them go now. And hopefully there's those sweet potato piles going to be under. I don't think these are going to root down and put out potatoes in the short period. Now what happened here on this side is a groundhog ate most of this foliage. He even got up about this high and was eating foliage. He pretty much cleaned this area out. Now it's regenerated. I trapped him and I put him next to the sweet potatoes so that they can recycle them. And that was number 5 groundhog that the sweet potatoes are taking advantage of, I guess. So these are 3 more steel post cage tomatoes, volunteer, and they're about done. Very decent production this year. I'm going to try to get this all a good pile, there's about 4 to 5 asparagus hills here. I think where's that one? Is it just 4? Well, and I got some seed off of this asparagus over here, and I'm gonna kind of look for when to plant that. I've done it before. When these asparagus were over on the neighbors, I dug them up and brought them over. And I think this plant here is one that I planted from seed and he grew. I think the others are mainly originals that I bought at Rural King. Got to plug Rural King. Rural King's the best. If you want to feed your ducks and your cats and your dogs and get chickens and get chicken feed, that's Rural King. This came up volunteer, and these are probably from bird poop that dropped some seeds, and here we go, a new plant. And I've been throwing those in the chili. I don't notice them, but they're in the chili. Is that it? That's it for that. So I'm going to be about done, unless I go bunny hopping. But the neighbor's over there feeding these animals, so I might wait it out. Okay, another volunteer tomato. I went to the, what do you call it? Shoot. The food bank. And I picked up some jalapenos. And that's one of the ingredients in salsa verde. So I'm going to look up that salsa verde recipe and take those tomatillos and maybe try it, see if I like it. That's about it. Don't go away. I'll be talking. Let's see. Okay, this big oak tree up here, that it's been dropping these little bitty acorns that are, and there's so many of them this year, they're failed. They've not matured out, they just die on the branch. And I took a blower, I took a handheld blower and I blew them down and I collected them and I put a bunch of them in just dirt and all kinds of sticks and leaves, and I put around these, I mulched these cabbages with it, and it looks pretty good. It's about an hour. Okay. Maybe I'll go up in the front yard. I'll just go up here for a bit. 2 people watching, I don't believe it. And here was a tomato on it. You know, this very shaded area that I use as a compost collector. Front yard. There were just massive, like a purple storm through here. And this is a plant they call an Indian shot, I think. Oh, everybody left. I knew it. Here's a blackberry plant that the neighbors had a bunch of plants out, and I got this plant and that plant and some others. The next doors they had a fire and it was condemned and they left, and I just, no one's gonna take care of these plants, so I brought them over. Okay, I'm just gonna show you the I got a couple volunteer tomatoes that are growing in the flower pots. And this one here is well over a year old. Now this sprig here, when I take this plant inside, it may live another year. Let's see if I can get a tomato that's a perennial. And here's that bigger avocado plant, and it's about, God, it could be 6-7 years old. And it grows like 3 or 4 inches a year. It's actually the original stem died out, and this stem here is like 1 or 2 years old. Acorns falling. Here's my herbs. I use them in every chili or stew. I just get a bunch of herbs and throw in, grind them up in the processor. Here's the chives, the thyme, the parsley. What the hell is this again? See, I'm on YouTube, I forget. Basil. And oregano. Nice little oregano bed. Last year I had to take most of this stuff in because it got really cold. Oops. Got sage here. These are new plants. They're kind of acting sick. I think they'll be fine. And shit. Where are you again? I'll think of it when I leave. This one's got to come in because it'll freeze. I had one of those out and it froze. It looked like it was a durable plant. It was not durable, below freezing. Rosemary. See, I remembered. Rosemary. Nana likes to use that on once a year to season turkey with. Okay, I may stop. Yeah, he's going back to work. The neighbors in the still messing with the animals. And I'm not going to do bunnies today. I'm sorry, no bunnies. I want to go in and see what football's going to come on. The Tennessee Vols didn't show up in Arkansas, and they lost yesterday. They looked flat, and Arkansas's had a great game plan against them. So you get a flat team with a good game plan, you lose to the other team. It happens. Alabama lost. Georgia lost last week. But I want a team that wants, Tennessee's been down for so long as the Vols that they got a good coach and pretty good players. And, I want a little bit more than a meaningless bowl game. I want a little playoff action someday. So that's football. And I don't want to talk about the Broncos, Denver Broncos. All right, this is it for Jim Miller's Garden. Sunday, October 6th, 2024. I'll probably be out here next week. And it's going to be cooler. Just looking at the rest of the year of this garden. I'm going to take these beans in, and with these beans, I put a paper towel on the bottom of a bag, so if they sweat, they'll absorb the moisture, and they don't get rusty or, just rusty or rotten, and so that works really well for us. I can have beans for a month in a bag, and they look good. So this is it for Jim Miller's Garden. One more look at the marigolds, and I'm out.